country, locally, and around the world. My name is Lenny Matthews, and also we welcome you to Sisters Uptown Cultural Bookstore Cultural Center. Give them a big hand. Well, I want to do it later on, but I'm going to give it to you now. 1 minute, we're going to be talking about the prison system, and take it down. And we're back with the LMS show. My name is Lenny Matthews. A couple of months ago, I met a young lady at the New York Black Expo. And, well, personally, I was going to go to the fashion show. But she told me to, so why don't you come and check this out? I said, all right, I'll come and check this out. And it was a unique organization. And she's trying to prevent, in a way, people going back and forth to prison. And there's a lot of reasons, you know, and she has an appointment in the Bronx right in a few minutes, and we'll bring it back for a future show. And we're going to talk about a lot of causes. There's a lot, it could take, it's like Broadway's the longest street in the whole world, from South Florida all the way up to the border. There's a lot of reasons, okay, why people are in there. What's your name, my friend?
My name is Wanda Best-DeVoe. I'm the president and co-founder of Citizens Against Recidivism. And what we do there is we provide reentry services for formerly incarcerated people. We provide support and parole preparation for people who are currently incarcerated, and we provide support for the family.
Okay, what kind of support for the families? Because when people go to prison, and we were just talking about people as far as phone calls, you know, you have one organization, won't name it, organization, telephone company, they were charging prisoners a lot of money. Yeah. They charging the family a lot of money. What do you do for to help us support the family organization?
We provide counseling and referrals. We do an assessment of the immediate needs of the family member when they come to our organization. Once we identify what the immediate needs are, we counsel them, and then we connect them with the services in the community. And it could be a variety of different things.
Because people go to prison for a variety of reasons, right?
Right. The support that we give to the families, because that's not a topic that's talked about. You talk more about the person who's in prison and less about the family that provides the support for the person that's in prison. Like, what are the visits like? What are the visiting times? What is the difference between prison and jail? What is parole preparation? So there's a variety of services that we provide.
You know, sometimes I was reading in the paper the other day, and they were talking about someone who's going to prison, and I guess he was married, his girlfriend or whatever it is, so they get, you know, how the media too, how, you know, so he could get some conjugal businesses, you know, things like that, you know. How the media portray, you know, people going, you know, sometimes they make fun of it, really.
Well, when you look at conjugal visits, that keeps families together. It is necessary to have that. Families fall apart usually when the person goes to prison and there's no contact. So the media portrays a lot of issues in a negative light, especially issues that impact our communities. So I don't think that we should focus on what the media does, because again, the media has an agenda, and the agenda in most cases does not represent us.
Why did you start this organization?
I started the organization because I had a family member that was in prison for 25 years. And was sentenced, I don't discuss that.
Okay.
Who was sentenced to 25 to life. And one of the things that I discovered was the lack of support for the families and the children. So I initially started a support group, and so the wives, it was mainly wives and mothers. And one particular day, actually it was in Abyssinian Church with Reverend Butts. This was going back to 1990. And one day, one of the mothers came with a son that was about 12 years old, and he had a lot of medals. So I began to, we were sitting around talking, so I asked him a question. Well, what was your day like today? I see you have a lot of medals. And he said, well, I won these medals playing basketball. And so initially he came out really happy and proud of the fact that he had the medals. And as he began to talk, he started to cry. He said, now this is a young man that's socialized here in this culture, that you don't show your emotions in public. He actually began to cry, and he said, my father never saw me play basketball. And when he calls, there's never enough time to talk to him. And it was at that moment that I discovered that the children, they are suffering as well.
They suffer a whole lot, though.
Yes, because they're without a parent.
Without a parent.
And I started to look at ways to create a nonprofit organization that would provide support to the family so we can meet those needs that the family members, including the children, needed to help them get through the bit. So if someone is in prison, it's not just the person who's in prison.
Well, everybody's in prison, right?
The whole family is in prison.
You know, I hate to say the taxpayers are in prison too, so they have to pay for this.
Department of Corrections is a state entity.
You know, I remember the Riverside Church. It had it was who was that? I was at the other studio at the college, at City College, and there was a young lady whose son. I was listening to it, and he was charged with murder in Florida. In fact, we still run that tape until now. One thing she mentioned to me, she said, you know, when something like this happened, you know, she's up here in New York and down there in Florida, it was two, you know, it was him and two other guys. And she said, you know, when things happen like that, you had to sit back and put your thoughts together and look like the clock keeps rolling. Because you have to, you know, get a lawyer, get on the plane, do this, do that, this, that, and the other. The sad thing about it is that I spoke to her some years back, and I said, well, what was the result of it? It was in Florida now. Not in New York, now in Florida. I guess he didn't want to do it. They would give him the runaround. He had to plead guilty to murder. And, you know, I nearly dropped my, I said, oh my goodness. And he had a little sister, and looked like this little sister will never see her brother again. He did.
Well, she can visit.
No, I don't know. That's why the price.
You don't see him walking around, but you know they.
But you know what disturbs me more than anything else too, is that I'm not being a sexist, but I'm gonna call on the line. And maybe you'll always have to talk about this too. Is that I did took some prison trips. A friend of mine we went to Danbury Federal Prison, and we did shows up there. Everybody enjoyed it, you know. So I had the feeling inside of a prison. And one thing for sure, I was able to leave afterwards. The others had to stay behind. But when it came down to it, it's when a man is in prison, it seemed like everybody could run down that bus on 59th Street and pay whatever they can. They get on the bus and go up there and see their man. I got to see my man. I got to see my man. I got to see my man. I know some people personally like that. But if a woman's in prison, nobody goes and see her at all, and that's very sad.
That's absolutely true.
Is
You
that
have
true?
more visits to, but now people do go visit women in prison. It's just not the partner.
No,
It's not
but I
the
mean,
family do. The family, the mothers, the fathers, the children, they go see women in prison. What you find is that you will have a woman that's in a relationship, and once she's in prison, then that relationship is dissolved. Whereas on the other hand, that if the woman will follow the guy and stay
please.
connected with him. But what I think that is more important is that we look at the fact that the United States incarcerates over 2.3 million people. The
Worldwide, too.
most worldwide. That when you look at closer to home in New York State, that there are over 55,000 people in state prison. And we're not talking about Rikers Island. We're talking about, there's a difference between jails and prison.
What's the difference?
The difference is, if you're in Rikers Island, you're either waiting to be sentenced or you have less than 18 months to do. That's your sentence. Now, once you get over a year, you could do 18 months on Rikers. Some people, if the case is going on, they're still there. But that's not the norm. Once you get over a year, you're going upstate. So that means that's where you get people who are doing 5, 10, 15, 20 life years. You won't get that on Rikers Island or in a jail. So that is the difference. So I'm focusing on state prisons, and that's the population that we work with. And 55,000 people plus is in prison in New York State. Now, of that 55,000, over 70% of those people are going to return to the 5 boroughs, 7 neighborhoods.
But they got also too, they got set neighborhoods where they, I don't want to say this like that, who's going to go, maybe like in this area or someplace else.
Well, when you look at these neighborhoods, these are the poorer neighborhoods. They're neighborhoods that have poor housing, poor education, lack of opportunities. These are the neighborhoods that have the highest crime rate. And you ask yourself, why is it high crime? People don't have money, they sell drugs. People don't have money, they do robberies.
Also, too, we have people like this. Before I came up here, I guess, I don't know, I didn't ask them, they had, the police had somebody in the train station. I was coming up here on the train station, handcuffed. I don't know what he did, didn't ask him either. But, it's sad.
Well, young black males.
Right, it was a young black male too, yeah.
That's example. Are targets. When you look at, you hear the term mass incarceration. That's a term that was used to bring attention to the issue, but it's not really mass, because if it was mass, everybody would be represented in the prison system. But it is hyper incarceration because it's targeting young black males.
But also too, upstate New York, and I had a gentleman who he was talking about these places. Upstate New York used to be, dairy country. They had the cows and milking the cows, but they turned into prisons. They turned these farms, into prisons.
Right.
And that town is making money. Everybody's profiting. Everybody got they don't have to worry about unemployment up there because everybody got a job. In a prison. I mean, inside of the people to do something. Outside of prison.
Right.
You have the correction officers. You got the local bakery. You got the supermarket. Everybody's feeding off their time. Also, too, what they've been doing too is that they've been taking, they've been using the prison population as their population so they can get more money. Do you have your
what's happening? There's two things happening with that. First, the prison industry has replaced the agricultural industry in many of the towns in upstate New York. So rather than be a farmer, it's more profitable to be a correction officer and work with the prison system. So with that being said, then you have towns that are competing to have prisons built in their district. Because once the prison is built in their district, the prisoners are counted in their census, which means that town is going to get more money.
Yep.
So that's another way. And if you look at Attica, the prison Attica, the town surrounding Attica, 90% of the people that work and live in Attica work for the prison. Whether they're contracting with the prison or whether they're correctional officers.
But I hit on the nail though too, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Because Everybody profits by that time. And one thing for sure, they do not. It's just like people have like a military base. You know, like sometimes they come out every year, they close that military base, and the guy said, "No, not in my district. Don't close it because that they be
They don't
losing."
want it to close.
No, that's
But
just
I
like the
want
prison.
to add this, which is very important. When you look at it from that perspective, that these prisons, these counties are competing to have prisons built in their areas, and they're busing young black males and females, but mostly males, into these other counties upstate to create an economy. What happens to down here is it dilutes our vote and issues that represent our communities. We have a diluted vote in our communities, and they never make it to the table, or they make it halfway to the table. And so these are things that we have to look at. Why does crime exist? We know there's no job. We know there's lack of education. So all of these things contribute to the rate of recidivism. And then it has an underlying effect of reducing our political power. And once you reduce our political power, then we have no voice.
On that note, I just thank you very much for coming in today, and also too. Well, this is, you know, this is not the end of it. We'll be.
We gotta do it again.
Well, we'll do
so
it again.
much
We're
more.
not. We
There's
like I
so
said.
much
Like I said, if we did it all at one time, bye. That's
Right.
it.
Right.
You know, that's
There's so
awful,
much
but
more.
there's so much more to it. And I'll leave you with this. And I mentioned here, we mentioned as sisters, the Young Empowerment Group. They had a movie one night. They had about Angela Davis. I remember at a bookstore in downtown in Union Square. We'll name the bookstore. I'm gonna give them a free plug. Sisters gets the free plug, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Say sisters get the free plug.
Sister gets the free plug.
Sisters get the free plug.
Sister gets the free plug.
Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
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 Well, anyway, this is showing a person who could hold a crowd. Angela Davis was scheduled to come down there that night at the bookstore. You know, everybody waited 3 hours to see her and listen to her. Not some, you know, say, she ain't no good, she ain't coming. But she came. And one thing she mentioned is what you mentioned previously, and we mentioned it through our discussion about the mass, about this mass incarceration. Also, too, there was a book by the late Gary Webb. He was a Caucasian gentleman. I mean, this guy took it. Even Maxine Warner said this guy was on the money. We have the book here. How all this stuff came into the country, at which they discredit him. Said he was this and that and the other, but I mean, boyfriend was telling the truth. And how this stuff, and we will talk about that at another date, but most of it is not on under our watch most of the time. And Angela Davis mentioned that many of the places that you see, like sometimes I get Larry now. I went to the doctor one day and said, oh, thank goodness something made in America. But then again, you gotta question what part of America was it made? Because these same products that we support and we go out and buy, most of them are made in prison. Is that true?
Oh yes, there's a whole industry where they're using prison labor. You'll have corporations.
We won't mention names.
Oh, okay.
No names.
You
You
have
had to ask you, but no names.
no names. Okay, you have major corporations
Off the
that are
stage.
contracting with prisons to use their labor to make their products. Now, when these products are made by prisoners, the company, is a win-win situation for the corporation, because they don't pay benefits. They pay maybe at most, in some situations, $1 a day or $1 an hour for prison labor. So they are profiting, and there's some if I could just name them, you'd really be surprised.
Yeah, we off the stage. So
yeah.
usually, like, I didn't ask your
I'll tell you later.
personal, yeah.
But you'd really be surprised of the corporations that use prison labor. You can Google it, and they will come up. Also, what happens? The Department of Corrections use prison labor as well. They make office furniture.
Oh yeah. I went to Denver. They make nice furniture.
They make braille for computers. They make blue jeans. They make army clothing and supplies. And so this saves money for the government. This is a slave-like workforce.
But that's cutting down somebody else's time too. Like somebody in the street could get a job. Everybody's scrambling, and I got to end up with it.
And
I'm broke. I'm broke too. So
they'd be mad. But there is, for example, that if you have a situation and it's a government agency that you'll call to resolve an issue, and you might be talking to a prisoner that has been contracted out. So you're giving them your information to resolve your issue, and instead of having a worker, they'll have someone that in a prison that they've contracted out to answer your question.
On that note, I'd like to thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and please return again.
Yes, we must have these conversations because the community, a lot of people in the community are unaware, and they need to be educated.
They are. Thank you so much. What's the name? And also, too, we thank who's the board member came in today.
Barbara Scott.
Barbara Scott, we thank you for coming too. And we'll be right back.
About New York City, I wrote it myself. We enjoy it. If you guys feel free, you can sing along with me, okay? You say you visiting and you wanna chill. Well, I live in Brooklyn, you have to come out here. Yeah, you ever been to New York City? No, but let me show you around. And we can hop the A train heading northbound. Party on the uptown, party on the uptown. No cops out, just taxi cabs for all the fingers out. And people here tippy and all strung out. They poppin' shh, what are you about? I'm just asking. Just wanna know how you feeling tonight. Just vibing. Small talk, isn't that what they call it? But do you like to party? I know one place we can go tonight. And if you like to party, I know one place we can go tonight. But do you party? Before the night started, but do you party? Sing it. You say you visiting and you wanna chill. Well, I live in Brooklyn and you have to come out here. Yeah, you ever been to New York City? No, but let me show you around. The A train heading northbound, party on the uptown, party on the uptown. And I can be your tour guide if you need one. I show you all the secrets that live here in this city. But come ride with me, baby. Just have some small talk with me, baby. Come ride with me, baby. Just have some small talk, But look, do you like to party? I know one place we can go tonight. And if you like to party, I know one place we can go tonight. but do you party? I just need to know now before the night started. But do you party? Come on, sing it. You say you're visiting and you wanna chill. Well, I live in Brooklyn, then you have to come out here. Yeah, you ever been to New York City? No, but let me show you around, and we can hop a train heading upbound, party on, and there's a party on the uptown. You say you're visiting and you wanna chill. Well, I live in Brooklyn, then you have to come out here. Yeah, you ever been to New York City? No, well let me show you around, and we can hop the A train heading northbound, party on the uptown, party on the uptown.
Give it up.